So I was actually going to make this one a double review with the game scratches, but the game wasn't as well received as I thought it was. I guess the critics could also see the ridiculous crypticism of the game and its absolute boringness, along with ridiculously sensitive controls to look around. Granted, Anna 2 was pretty poorly received upon release, so the developers went back to fix the game. A little while later, they released Anna Extended Edition, which was well received. The game has more content than the original game, and they changed certain puzzles. I personally thought that the original Anna was a pretty atrocious game, so when the Extended Edition showed up in my Steam library, I was hopeful. But after playing it, well, it's one of the worst games I played, barely above Crash Boom Bang. There's a reason I'm really into games that are like Myst. One of the key design features of that game was a focus on minimalism, as it features low inventory management. This is opposed to a lot of the other adventure games at the time where you had to look for items everywhere and then use them in appropriate situations, or at least as appropriate as adventure game creator can get. The lack of an inventory in Myst simplified the puzzles and reduced the crypticism that is found in these types of games without taking out too much of the challenge. Anna Extended Edition adopts Myst's first-person viewpoint, but for such a tiny game it sure does love items. The whole game takes place outside, inside, and underneath a log cabin. It starts off well enough. You just have to solve a puzzle to get inside a log cabin, and it's nice because you only have one tiny area to explore, which makes this part of the game possible to complete without a guide. It's not a cakewalk, though, but with a bit of effort you'll find yourself inside the cabin. But this is where the crypticism begins. The game has puzzles where you have to place leaves in front of paintings to unlock a door somehow, a puzzle where you combine a mask with a dress so you put a chair so you can put on a chair so a supernatural event will occur to do something. I forget exactly, but and a puzzle where you make a tree grow in a puddle inside the log cabin so it will puncture that ceiling. Then you go upstairs, you cut a baby head with a ritual knife while making sure to wear a mask so you can get its blood and throw it at the mask and dress that you put on the chair. No, in case you're wondering, when I was playing the game myself, it actually did not make more sense in the context. Yet I find it funny that this game has some strange intuition system where there's nothing intuitive about the puzzles. In fact, there's nothing intuitive about the intuition system either. You're supposed to combine them together, the intuitions that is, to learn more things about the story or something, but it mostly just results in trying to combine every intuition you have with every other one. But worst of all is actually finding all the items. Actually figuring out where to use them is pretty bad too. See, the first game was really tiny. The inside of the cabin was only upstairs and downstairs. There weren't all these many things to interact with or places to hide something, but the extended edition pretty much doubles the size of the cabin, which by rule of squares quadruples the difficulty at least. It's awful. You may think you've looked everywhere in such a tiny room, but you're always going to miss something. Oh, and I could move those boards on the floor. Oh, that was a cabinet. What do I do with this handle on the floor? And the story has to do with familicide or something. I think it's trying to be creepy or horrifying or edgy or something, but it just comes off as tasteless because it's neither interesting nor is the story artfully crafted. See your walk for that. And looking through the walkthrough to try and remember what the ridiculous puzzles even were, I remembered another horrible concept that the extended edition added. A sanity meter. Well, plus I also saw that there were a ton of game-breaking bugs. But anyway, you could just be walking around trying to solve a cryptic puzzle when suddenly there will be some statue that shows up and it drains a meter which kills you if it gets too low. This becomes a problem in the workshop room, which is super tiny, so the statue will just spawn all over in different places, so you'll pretty much be forced to stare at it. It's such a stupid feature to put in an adventure game. Why put in something that kills you for trying to explore and figure things out? Why punish players for trying to play the game? I feel like I'm not selling this well enough. Yet, yeah, it may sound like a subpar adventure game, but I assure you this game is worse than that. Let me try to explain more clearly what is exactly that it is that launches this game right toward the top of my list for the worst game I've ever played. The original Anna was a confusing, unsatisfying mess of just random items on random things. The extended edition is that, except even more of it. And more of a bad thing just makes it even worse. I think forcing someone to play this game all the way through without a guide could qualify for cruel and unusual punishment. So, it just completely baffles me that this game could be called good by anyone. Did people really think that the first game was too short? That it warranted more content because you couldn't get enough of it, and there just wasn't enough to consume? It's nonsensical. Anna Extended Edition is an atrocious mess, and this is just super clear to me.